I'm Steph, that quirky bird girl. Hold up, I just heard a western osprey. Oh, it's a laughing kookaburra. A blue jay. And don't even get me started on the belted kingfisher.
Birds, aves, uchelis. That's birds in 3 different languages. The more you bird know.
Hit that follow and subscribe button for more bird fun. Watch my TV show one day.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to That Quirky Bird Girl. I am your host, Steph, and if this is your first time tuning into my podcast, I am so glad that you found it. And y'all, can you hear the blue jays screeching in the background? There are so many above me, and that is what this podcast is all about. But I'm bringing you a whole new season, and this one is all about values and things that I've learned personally from birds, areas that they have helped me grow and develop and learn more about myself and change in ways that I didn't even think were possible in order for me to actually make my dreams come true. So today I will be talking about one specific value, and for each of these podcast episodes that are coming up, I will mention the value, the birds that taught me that value, and the life lessons that I took away from them so that we can all learn and grow a little bit better together. That being said, if you've watched the past few episodes of my podcast, you'll know that the tone has changed, and that's because I feel like I have changed so much over the past few months and grown and evolved. When I started this podcast, I was in a completely different space and place, and I was talking about a lot of the stories and experiences that I had through my divorce, through moving to New York City and making big life changes, leaving behind the Midwest, a place that I had lived for well over 10 years, and into my childhood, growing up as someone who was born and raised in Flint, Michigan, and left there to go on and live a different life, which I'll get into actually in this episode. But I want to share with you all the things that I've learned. I have had a tumultuous ride, let's call it a roller coaster. And I think that in sharing our stories about these roller coasters, we can all make the roller coaster a little bit less wonky. So, all of that being said, you're going to hear about a bunch of birds today. A lot of them are my favorites. If you are coming from my TikTok, you know that one of the questions I get asked most frequently is what bird is my favorite. And to that I say I have way too many to count. That's part of what this podcast is all about, sharing why I love so many different birds and how they have changed my life. Now, you might also be wondering about my background. I am here in New York City. I live in New York City. I'm in Central Park. And behind me is a freaking castle. Yeah, you heard that right, a castle. It's a place where I do quite a few events here in the city, or I've had the good fortune of doing quite a few events, and I will bring my participants here around me. We're also hearing a bunch of different birds. I mentioned earlier the blue jay. We're also hearing some American robins. There are some European starlings high up in the trees. There's some riddling, some rattling, and hopefully we'll get quite a few more birds. We're also hearing an ambulance because that's New York City for you. Anyways, I'm really excited to be here and to be bringing another episode, another phase of That Quirky Bird Girl with you all, and talking about the different values that mean the world to me. So let's get into our first value, and it is resilience. Now, if you've watched all my episodes, you know that this is something I've talked about quite frequently. However, I'm going to be talking about it a little bit differently today. The question that you might have is, what the heck is resilience? Well, resilience is your ability to adapt well to significant stress, trauma, big life changes, things that you don't necessarily want to be happening, but are anyways, which is kind of just sometimes life. Resilience is your ability to bounce back from that and say that this doesn't define me, this instead does. The experience of coming up and out of it does. We see resilience in so many different areas of our everyday life. A lot of the people who have quote unquote made it exemplify significant characteristics of resilience and their ability to bounce back, to announce and denounce failure as mistakes and learnings and growth. A lot of that falls under the category of resilience. Resilience isn't an easy quality to nurture and to take care of. It pulls on a lot of different values that I'm going to be talking about in this season And one of those is strength, is bravery, is willingness to expressively and outwardly be yourself in spite of maybe something not going as well as you wanted it to. Maybe a relationship deteriorated. Maybe a work engagement that you really wanted to go well didn't go well. There are so many different life circumstances, grief that pull on resilience and force us to really challenge ourselves and make sure that we can show up for ourselves. And all of this to say, it's not an easy trait to have. So it's something that I've personally struggled with. I'll get into that a little bit more later, and come back to and gone away from and come back to and gone away from. It's kind of like a lifelong journey to express this value within yourself or within projects or whatever it is that you might be working on. Now, the next question you might have is, what does this actually help with? And I spoke to this a little bit earlier, but resilience helps on a wide range of activities. I talked about work, I talked about relationships, love, family, self, which is honestly at the top of all of those things that I just listed. And ironically, I listed it as the last, but your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship that you will ever have. So being able to be resilient just for yourself and give that back to you is something that is so profoundly important, necessary, vital for your growth, for your stamina in whatever it is that you might be doing. That being said, that encompasses growth, that you are able to see yourself almost as external and allow yourself to make changes and to not be perfect. We are all imperfect beings, and to relay the expectation upon ourselves that we are going to be perfect is not fair. We are doing ourselves a disservice. I had to learn that one the hard way, so I hope you don't have to. The next one is actually making our dreams come true. There are very few ways in which we can actually bring to life our dreams, and one of them is by expressing our resilience. I don't necessarily mean that in the way that like your dreams aren't necessarily possible, but if you aren't challenging yourself and you aren't looking at these traits and saying, am I having this resilient mindset or this abundance mindset or this ability to keep moving and pushing forward, if you're not doing that, it's going to be really hard to make your dreams come to life in a way that you actually want them to. So making your dreams come true, part of that, it's vital to be resilient and to look at yourself as a resilient individual. The next portion is getting rid of the victim mentality. Now, this is one of the hardest things I personally have ever had to work on. It is so easy to look at ourselves and say, we don't have this, we didn't have this growing up, we didn't get access to this, I had a bad marriage that left me with a bunch of trauma, I had this, I had a work relationship where they treated me poorly. All of these things, like, if we sit in that and we allow ourselves to just be like, yep, that's what it was, then we're never going to move forward. We're never going to ascend to the true potential that we actually have within ourselves. Because we're sitting there telling ourselves, well, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. It's all of these, honestly, and I'm going to be frank, it's excuses. It's excuses as to why we're not able to ascend to what we truly want to be ascending to. But all it takes is recognizing that you might not necessarily be doing things that are aligned with what you actually want to do. Now, I talk to people all the time about their dreams, about their desires, about where they want to be in life and all of these other things. And then I'll meet up with them a few months later and they haven't excelled forward on those dreams. And it's so heartbreaking because the thing that's holding them back is themselves. It's telling them, well, I won't be successful because I wasn't successful when I was younger, or I won't be successful because my dad opened up a business and he didn't end up moving forward with it. That's crazy talk. It's absolutely wild. And those things are holding you back, again, from being you, from making your dreams come to life. Getting rid of the victim mentality and seeing yourself as a survivor of the circumstances that you went through, as opposed to someone who's just continuously experiencing those same exact cycles, is going to be what cures you and brings you back to life. Now, next, we have making necessary changes. I alluded to this a little bit earlier when I was talking about the different things that we could do, but making necessary changes are not easy. Making any change is not easy. People tell me all the time, like, people don't change. People don't change unless they want to. Wrong. I completely disagree. People change when they're incentivized to change, when they feel like there is something that inspires them or motivates them or makes them want to be better. That doesn't necessarily mean that people can't change. It just means they need a catalyst. And oftentimes we as humans, we are fixers. We have so much going on in our own mind that we are just like, here you go, we're going to fix this for you. And so we're giving people solutions to problems that they never asked us to solution for. And so now we're just out here preaching and preaching and preaching and giving people advice that they don't want to begin with. It's not helping them because no one wants to be told what they need to do or what they should do. Instead, they want to be inspired through what you've done. So instead of sitting there and telling people like, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what you should do, tell them what you did. Share your story. Share how things were different for you. That's how you inspire people. That's how you make change. That's how you change yourself. You look for people who inspire you. It's not easy. You look for people who are resilient. You look for people who have done things similar to you have. One day I have this dream of interviewing Bobbi Brown because I just think she's such an amazing businesswoman and woman, and she has such a great story. And I sat down one day and I just read her whole entire autobiography, and it was so impressive and beautiful and amazing to watch. And I was so excited, but I needed to see that she could be, that someone else was as resilient as I was trying to be. I couldn't almost like even ascend to that level of resilience until I realized that there was another person out there that had already done that. And it was her. She gave me that fuel. And so doing things like reading autobiographies, learning about other people, learning about birds, which I'll get into in a second, is going to really help you get to where you need to be by giving your brain and yourself the evidence that you need to go and grow. Chapter 3 is about my story as it relates to resilience. Now, I've had a bumpy, interesting, wild ride. I got started out as a kid in Flint, Michigan. Parents were married, parents got divorced. That really rocked and shook my world and honestly just changed everything. And at this point in my life, I was in a place where I just needed stability. I needed to know that there was going to be something that was the same, and that was not something that came until I was about 16 years old when I made the decision to move to Italy and study abroad, and I finally gave myself the consistency that I needed. But before then, I had a brother who was incredibly angry, so profoundly angry. He was on medications that made him even more angry, which turned him into someone who was genuinely dangerous and scary. And the fact that I even survived that period of time is just genuinely crazy to me. There were so many times where I thought that I wasn't going to make it out of that time period, whether it be by the hands of my brother or by my own hands. I was a tired kid. I was babysitting 3 to 4 kids at any point in time. I was acting as a mom to my youngest sister, who was 10 years younger. And I didn't have it easy growing up. And I think a lot of people look at me now and they say like, wow, you must have had it so easy. And I think that that makes it so much more hard for me because it's like in that moment you feel so unseen. But I also don't share this. Like, it's really hard to get me to talk about the things that I've been through and the experiences that I've had. And I'm okay with that. I've learned to become okay with that. But it also comes with the other side of people thinking that I have had this cushiony life and I just haven't. And so I think in a lot of ways, resilience expresses itself in my background, but it also expresses itself in my ability to decide when I want to talk or if I want to talk about what I went through and what I experienced. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But it wasn't easy. And then when I finally made the decision, I was like, I'm moving to Italy. I'm going to go somewhere else and experience a different life. So I went off. I did that. I was there for a year. It was amazing. I loved it so much. I learned Italian. Oh, here we go. The European starlings. Oh, wait. I think there's a red-tailed hawk approaching. All of the American robins flew up into the tree. Oh, yeah. Not a red-tailed hawk, a peregrine falcon. Ooh, that bad boy's diving so fast, y'all. Holy crap. Okay, so when the peregrine falcon came up, I'm above I think it's called the Grand Lawn. A really good place to see peregrine falcons if you come to New York City. But what I noticed from it was that all of the American robins just swarmed up into the trees and all of the blue jays started screeching. And then I look up, there's the peregrine falcon diving down. Those bad boys are so freaking fast. But within my story and kind of coming back to where I left off, when I was in Italy, I felt so safe. I felt so indulged in my passions and my interests. I love languages. I love learning. I love asking questions, curiosity, embracing newness. All of those things just mean the world to me. And getting so much time where I didn't have to be taking care of anyone. I didn't have to be babysitting. I didn't have to do any sort of tasks outside of the ones that were just associated with the home that I was living in. I finally felt like I was being taken care of. I had grown up a life where I was always doing the taking care of and never the other way around. Whether it had been like emotionally, mentally, physically, in a lot of ways, my parents weren't really available. They were there physically, but they weren't able to give me the attention they needed because, mind you, they have 5 kids. Like, that's a crazy amount of kids to have. How do you give that much attention to all of them, especially the oldest, when you've always seen her as independent and capable of handling everything? You just don't. And so after that, I ended up in a marriage, in a relationship, and the relationship, I've talked about it a few times via my divorce. It was not a healthy relationship. It was a toxic relationship. I hid it for a very, very, very long time, for a number of reasons. One of those being that I literally was not allowed to talk about my relationship. He put arms and distance between me and my friends and my family, and would just become so enraged if I talked about him, if I talked about the dynamic. He would become enraged if I had relationships outside of him. He did a number of things that really tested me, and ultimately, at about 9 years into the relationship, I just couldn't take it anymore. My body was physically exhausted. I was tired of fighting all the time. I was tired of these arguments that we would get into where there was no food, no water, no bathroom for 72 hours. And then I would be in recovery for 2 weeks after with this painful, wretched stomach ache because I had just been so anxious and so tight. And I had no power, no agency, no control in the relationship. And it made me think that I wasn't resilient, that I wasn't capable of bouncing back in spite of all of this childhood experience that I had telling me, hey, you're capable of everything. You can do anything. I legitimately felt like I couldn't do anything because that's how that relationship dynamic made me feel. And so when I finally decided, okay, I need to leave this relationship, I need to get out, and I was moving to New York City, I kept questioning and coming back to, am I a resilient person? Am I a capable person? Am I an able person? I just didn't know the answer until I actually made the jump. And I left and I came to New York City, and honestly, it's taken a year to feel like I actually am a resilient person. I've had my values written down for well over 2 years, and I didn't feel like I was fully, truthfully following my values up until a few months ago when I was like, wait, I actually am doing this. I actually am a resilient person. I'm able to bounce back. I'm able to be who I thought I was, who I think I am. And I learned so much from that experience because it wasn't necessarily about remembering what had gone down in that relationship. It was more about remembering, who am I to my core? Who was I before that relationship? And who do I still want to be and take into who I am today? And so that was obviously resilience. And I just kept doing things and going. And it was really hard to get started when I was trying to, what felt like, convince myself that I was resilient. I didn't know that I was capable of that. I didn't even think that I was capable of it. And it was really, really hard to just take a hold of and to own for myself. And that's when the birds came in, because when I was first moving here, I live in one of the most beautiful areas in the world. I mean, I have access to nature, I have access to city, I have access to beauty. I love, love, love New York City. This is an amazing, amazing place. And it gives you so much stimuli to remind yourself of who you really truly are. And one of those pieces of stimuli was birds. And so I'm going to talk about a few birds that helped me throughout and really showed me that I could be myself. Amongst those was the species are migratory birds. And there are so many migratory birds that I could speak to and share about, but there are two specific types that I want to speak to right now because they really helped me. Our first one is going to be our sandhill crane. Now, if you've never seen or heard of a sandhill crane, they are massive, massive, massive birds, and they are so beautiful. They do these like wonderful mating dances where they just like, and almost if you've never seen ostriches doing their mating dances, or if you have seen them, it looks quite similar. They just like shuffle their head up and down and they like shake their head up and out, and it's so stunning. But those are one of my absolute favorites. You might be wondering what they remind me of resilience. And the answer to that question is their ability to migrate in spite of the fact that they are so large. Now, I mentioned ostriches. These birds are large. Think ostrich, but about 1/4 smaller. They're big, and the fact that they make the journey all the way down from states like Florida all the way up to Canada, imagine how many states they are passing through. They're literally going through 2 different countries. That's crazy. And to be that big of a bird and be doing all of that work, the amount of food that you need, the amount of substance, the ability to stop and sleep over and find safety and all of these different things, it requires so much work, so much diligence, so much consistency and patience. And there's a dog in a tree. There's 2 dogs in a tree. Anyways, it's absolutely fascinating that they're able to travel as far as they are able to. And sometimes I question whether or not I can go the full distance in what I am trying to do, or if I'm capable enough to bounce back and do what I really want to make come to life. And when I see big birds do big things, it's almost like, oh, why am I second guessing what I'm capable of? I'm actually far more capable than I even thought I was. So they gave me faith in that. And then our wonderful blue jays, you can hear them screaming up above me. Blue jays gave me so much faith. Oh my gosh. Blue jays are incredibly intelligent. They are migratory, but not in the same way that we think of most migratory birds. They're migratory in the way that they will follow the food. So wherever there is food, they will go there. So say, for example, we were to wake up tomorrow and there's no more food in Central Park for our lovely blue jays. Well, guess what? They're going to go to another park. Maybe they go to Prospect Park. Maybe they go to, I don't know, any other park. Wherever there's food, that's where they're going. They're incredibly intelligent, and sometimes that's how life is. Sometimes certain circumstances happen and show you that you can't be in that environment anymore, that that's not for you. It wasn't meant for you. It was only a specific time frame that you were meant to stay in that space for, and then you were meant to move on and out. And that takes a lot of strength to do. That takes a lot of strength to say, like, listen, this isn't for me anymore. It was at one point and now it's not. I got to move on, find something different, and go to the next space. That takes a lot of resilience. And so if you've ever struggled in doing something along those lines, just know that you're not alone. But blue jays and looking at their story might be something that helps you, because them being able to move on and find something different means that maybe you can do just the same. And it's not easy. Like I said, nothing is easy in this life, but doing things that aren't easy are the only way that you can continue to move forward and really make your dreams come true. Getting uncomfortable is the only way that you can make your dreams come true. So blue jays can help you with that, just like they helped me. Our next category of bird that helps me is the northern cardinal. And this bird is so beautiful. I'm not hearing any northern cardinals today, but northern cardinals are these bright red, beautiful birds. And the males and females actually look different from one another, which is termed as sexual dimorphism. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about. If you haven't checked out some of my past podcast episodes, they're great for all on sexual dimorphism. But they are able to literally weather any storm. They are year-round birds, which means that here in New York City, they're hanging out spring, summer, fall, winter, all of the seasons. But mind you, in winter, snow is all over on the ground. So what the heck are they doing? Hanging out in their bright red plumage, at least the males, and not being worried about the fact that they could be seen by something like a red-tailed hawk or a peregrine falcon that we were talking about earlier. But they're not afraid, and in a lot of ways you'll hear them making this large or loud chirp, and you'll also see them in the background as you're just like stumbling upon. Can you imagine if you were a hawk, how easy it would be to see them? But it doesn't stop them. It doesn't deter them. They continue going, they continue expressing themselves, they continue being themselves in whichever form that is. And we need some of that energy too. It's okay to be bold and be bright. I mean, look at my outfit today. I'm wearing all red, and it's part of who I am. And if I were to dull myself down just because the season changes or because I'm around different people, that wouldn't be who I am. So I need to keep being myself and keep showing up as exactly who I am, because if I were to do anything less, it just wouldn't be worth it. Channel some of that Northern Cardinal energy to remind yourself it's okay to be different. It's okay to stand out. It's okay. And it will teach you how to be more resilient in the way that you show up through your authenticity. That's not an easy trait, but using birds to help you as a catalyst to ensure that you're growing in this area and being your most authentic self is the only way that you will get closer to who you truly are and what you truly should be doing in your life. Because there are so many other things that we could be doing. Mind you, like I have a career that I worked in corporate, I've worked in startups. I tried so many different areas and so many different things just to not accept that I am a bird girl. I am meant to stand out. I'm meant to be weird. I'm meant to be quirky. I fought that for years, for at least like 7 years. And now I'm not fighting it anymore because I know that I'm resilient enough to take the backlash or to take the chatter about me being who I truly am. Because don't get me wrong, like resilience in part is also in your response to the chatter. It's in your response to, hey, this person said this and I either don't care or I do care. And deciding that I don't care, it's freeing. It's so freeing, and it allows me to resemble my resilience even more by reminding myself that I can handle anything. And even if someone doesn't like me, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. The people who understand me, who want to understand me, who want to be in my life will get what I'm doing, will get what I'm building, and I won't have to explain it to them. That's our Northern Cardinals. Next, we have our red-winged blackbirds, and this is a similar token as it is to the Northern Cardinals that I was talking about a few minutes ago. So red-winged blackbirds, if you've never heard them, they are so loud. Oftentimes you'll see them in meadows, screeching all together in large groups, and so that gives you an opportunity to just tune in like, maybe I can be loud too. Maybe I can suffer the consequences or indulge in the joy of being who I truly am and how I want to be seen. That's not easy, again, but to the same token as our Northern Cardinals, you can do it. You can be bold, you can be loud, you can be outspoken, you can be whatever the heck you want to be. No one's out here to tell us, or they shouldn't be at least, to tell us who we should be, what we should be doing, how should we be doing it, all of these things. None of their opinions don't matter because they're going to continue on and go to the next person and tell them the same things because it's all just a projection of what they want to be and what they're actually not. The best things that we can do for ourselves is to actually give ourselves the freedom that it is to bounce back, to be ourselves. Our next bird is the Canada goose. Now, the reason why I mention Canada geese is because they are freaking omnipresent. They are everywhere. Everywhere you go, you can see a Canada goose. They're in Canada, they're in the United States, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, mountainous Midwest. They are everywhere. These birds can be found. Oh, there's a tufted titmouse right above me. Oh, and a northern, oh my God, a red-bellied woodpecker, literally right above me. So stunning, you guys. This is the perfect spot. Oh, off it goes. Oh, cool. I was talking about Canada geese. They're omnipresent. You can see them everywhere. Sometimes that's how I wish I could be, just reminding myself that it's okay to see myself in multiple different circles and to be growing in each one of those and to not know what it's going to look like in the end. That's part of resilience, knowing that, hey, maybe this is who I am right now. I don't know what it's going to turn into, and I actually don't necessarily need to know. I don't need to know who I'll be at the end of this. I don't need to know. I will just be, and I will trust that I will be the best version or a better version of myself, and I'll continue to come out as that regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what other people think. All of that is resilience. And so becoming okay with the fact that you are constantly growing and knowing and showing, that's just part of life. And if you cycle yourself in, or you tell yourself, I need to stay inside because I'm not the person I want to be, or I'm not perfect, or I'm not growing 100% all of the time, you're gonna keep yourself away from environments that are actually going to be the ones that help you grow and push you to be the better person that you actually truly fundamentally want to be. It's not easy, like I said, but it is absolutely worth it. I have a few more birds for you, and a lot of them fall under the category of mimicry. And so, mimicry, if you're not familiar, it's basically just the concept of a bird, of an animal, of a person being able to recreate the same sounds, vocalizations as other birds, animals, and then in our case, it'll be birds. One that I talk about pretty frequently is coming back again to our lovely blue jay. Now, I love blue jays. I think they're absolutely stunning, but they adapt to their environment. And one of the ways that they adapt to their environment outside of the food that I talked about earlier is also their ability to recreate calls. And so one of the birds that they do that for is the red-tailed hawk. So they have learned how to reproduce the call of the red-tailed hawk. And not only is it absolutely stunning, but it's also just incredibly intelligent, the ways in which they use it. So they'll use it at bird feeders to keep other birds out. They will use it to dive bomb on top of those very same birds and basically say, like, get out of my neighborhood. They do not like when red-tailed hawks are foraging, obviously, because it means that they could be foraging for one of their own community members. That's obviously not something that they want, you would want, no one would want. So that's something that they've learned and been able to adapt to and use in their own environment, which I find to be incredibly fascinating. I've heard them do it a number of times. It is one of my favorite things to show when I'm leading bird walks here in Central Park. When I hear one, I'm like, oh, that was a blue jay imitating a red-tailed hawk, because it is so distinctive and you're able to tell the differences between the two, that it's really cool. But again, it's just another case of them adapting, becoming resilient, and learning, hey, this red-tailed hawk is not going to stop me from foraging. It's not going to stop me from keeping my community safe. So instead of them just being like, oh, well, that sucks, they're just going to hunt us and that's just the name of the game. Instead of doing that, they're like, no, I'm going to learn how to mimic your call and I'm going to get you the heck out. That's what life's about, baby. It's about figuring out how you can adapt so that you can stop the circumstances that are actively harming you. Not easy, as I said earlier, but absolutely fundamental, unmissable. You cannot not do this. The next mimicry bird that I particularly love, and I'm talking about mimicry in a little bit of a different sense here, is with our house sparrows. Now, I know a lot of people don't love what we call invasive birds. I get why, okay? I understand. However, sit with me for a second because I'm going to explain to you what my thought is. I love house sparrows. In the 1800s, an ornithologist brought over 5 species of birds. Now, 3 of those did not make it. 2 of them did. They were European starlings and house sparrows. House sparrows were brought from England, and they are not meant to adapt in our environment. They are not meant to be nesting. They don't know how to, or at least they didn't know how to when they first got here, but they learned, and they had to learn fast. Otherwise, it meant the full and complete and total eradication of their species in a completely different environment. Can you imagine if someone took you, picked you up, didn't tell you where you were going, didn't tell you how you were going to survive there, didn't tell you how to find food, how to make a nest, how to raise your young, none of that. You have no idea. Drops you off on an island and just poof, you're meant to just figure it all out. That's really hard. Objectively, that's really, really, really hard. And the fact that they've been able to do it well, that they've been resilient enough to basically build a life for themselves, even though who the heck told them that that was something that was even possible? I don't even know. I don't know why this ornithologist even did that. He said he was feeling homesick. He brought the birds from home. Crazy idea, but I digress on that part. These birds are incredibly resilient. Their ability to adapt in environments, to spread across the United States, to live in urban, to live in suburban state, like it's just wild. It's absolutely wild what they've been able to do. And if I can carry just some of that resilience with me that house sparrows have had basically since the dawn of their time here in the United States, like I think that we'll be all a lot better off because of it. And the last thing that gives me hope for myself and my resilience is me. I talked about this a little bit early and coming back to my story, but reminding myself that, hey, I can actually do anything. I am capable and conscious and able to make decisions that feel scary, that push me outside of my comfort zone. And I've been doing it since I was a literal, like, as far back as I can remember, as like a 4-year-old. That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's crazy awesome. Truly, like so, so, so awesome. So coming back to your own personal story and reminding yourself of what it is that you might have gone through or experienced is really, really, really important and honestly quite understated. Now, before we close out on this podcast episode, I want to share with y'all a little bit about a recent resilience story that reminded me of just how strong I am. Now, a few weeks back, I made the decision, or a few months back, I made the decision that I wanted to go to Ecuador. I was on a flight back from Mexico. I wasn't sure. I knew that once I landed, I would never book the ticket because I was so scared to do my first solo trip ever. And for 2 weeks, which is what the trip was booked for at the time, felt so long. I was like, how am I going to make it? Like, I am going to be traveling alone as a woman. Everyone says, be careful, be careful, be careful. I don't know if I can do, like, all of these things were just like swirling through my mind. I didn't know if I was capable. And I honestly needed a reminder that I was. I sometimes forget how much I have gone through and how much I've been a part of to get me to where I am today. And so being able to go on that trip and say yes to something finally that felt a little scary was so vital to my growth. So, so, so vital to my growth. So I went. I ended up having a really, really, really great time. I stayed for 2 weeks and I extended the trip an additional week because I needed more time. I needed to learn more about myself and make sure that I was as capable as I thought I was. So all in all, pushing yourself, doing things that make you feel like a challenge or make you feel like they're stretch opportunities or things that genuinely scare you, they are good for you. They're good for your brain. It gives it evidence that you're able to do things that you maybe didn't think that you were able to do. Resilience isn't an easy trait to express. It's not an easy trait to have within yourself, but it is a worthwhile trait because it will completely change your life. It is the thing that makes your dreams come true. It's the thing that makes you come to life. It is everything. And I hope that through this podcast episode and learning about the different birds that have taught me and learning about yourself, I hope that you're able to see that you too are just as capable of making your dreams come to life and doing things that feel scary and feel different and feel new and feel exciting, because you are capable of that. It just takes those reminders that you might need to show yourself just how capable you are. So I believe in you, my friend. Let me know down in the comments what it is that you've done recently that makes you feel resilient, that makes you feel strong. Let me know a bird that you love. Let me know your special interest. Let me know anything, my friend. My name is Steph. I am a content creator. I'm a lover of birds. I'm a lover of languages. I'm a passionate person. I'm a New York City bird guide, event host. I do all of these things that I love to do just simply because I love them and I love you. I'm so grateful for you watching this episode. I cannot wait to deliver the one next week for you all. It's a special one, so be sure to hit that subscribe button, tune in, like this, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, share it with anyone you love. I love you, and I will see you on the other side. Bye.